Yo, what's up guys? We are once again back with a TimaeuSS Etheria PvP Cup, and this time around I will be playing on the account that I made in the beta. The previous two cups that I played, the Fusion Cup, which was way back in January, and the other TimaeuSS Cup was based on an account that you pretty much get an account that is maximum stacked. All units are there, lots of gear is there, lots of shells are there, but in this case I had to prepare it by myself with the beta. Plus I was doing this fully free to play because I'm planning to do rerolling and therefore going for the rebate wasn't really that much of an option. So I had to play against people that maybe have spent a little bit here and there. I actually don't know who spent, but let's see if my strategy that I showed in the previous video about getting bulwark on the whole team, if you haven't seen it yet, check out the previous video. Let's see if that actually does work, because it did get me 96% win rate on normal ladder. So that should be something good. We do have a whole bunch of content creators. Once again, Jambi is in there as well, but they also did add a lot of players which were top of the leaderboards. If we're looking at the numbers, I think Shiny was around rank 3, Watchum was around rank 5, Kek was rank 1 or rank 2, I think Sandal was around rank 25, Lobo was around rank 10, so for the others I haven't really seen them, but I think they were all like super. I think Xlo was also around rank 25, so a lot of really good players in the beta. So let's see how my strategy did do. So I did pre-record all of the matches, and I'm gonna talk to you about the strategies of my match. How did I play? How did it work out? So in most cases, I mainly went for the picks on the Heinrich. Heinrich was just super important for me to have in the draft all the time. And I did go for a ban on Obal, which is one of the strippers I did know he uses. He goes for a Lily and a Messiah, so it's definitely a lot of damage potential already out there. And that makes it where going for a Rahu is a little bit more dangerous. He did also pre-ban the Tiamat, so he's definitely looking at a lot of damage with also damage setup. So in my case over there, I'm already looking like, to be honest, I didn't have that many units left over. Like, that's the main issue on this tournament. At some point, you're just like, I don't have too many units left over. I was happy you went for a Kraken. If you went for either the Rahu or you went for, what's it called, the Linglo, I had more issues. Since Rahu is a defense-based damage dealer, it doesn't have that much HP, so I mostly ban the ignored defense. And in this case, I'm looking at a pretty good draft. I have full immunity once again. He does have good damage with the Grey being boosted by 2 units over here. However, I do have 2 really good sustainers. He does remove one of my damage dealers, the Rahu, but I think that he had to go for one of the bans on the sustainers over here to have a more solid match, because in the end, I have 2 really strong sustainers. I have a revive, I have full immunity, plus I have an immunity provider. That's just so much work going in. But I think he maybe had a chance with like Kraken landing some things, the Grey doing a lot of damage, getting the armor breaking. But I was on full immunity, and as you can see, no armor breaks, just half HP, nothing too much going on. In this case, he can actually boost up the Grey again and let them move Grey again. I think he also goes for that right here. Oh no, wait, does he boost up the... I'm not really sure who he boosted up, because you can do 100 boosts with her for, I think. That's also one of those things. They added in a few new units that I'm not 100% sure what they all do and how they do it. So yeah, in this case, it's pretty much just like me outlasting him. I get my heals off. He did not do the skill 3 of the Kraken, which I actually did see on ladder that a lot of people were like, immunity, what is that? Let me use my S3 and not have it work at all. But from here, I could slowly start whittling down his team. Also, I did have the Codex of Magic on the Hellkit, so I can go for a skill 3 into another skill 3. So if he breaks the shield, I still can get my skill 3 off at a later moment once again. So that is just really good to get a lot of protection against units like Kraken or anything else. Does go for skill 3, once again, full immunity, so things simply not working out for him. I think he went for the cooldown to just get more damage in on that skill 3 of the Grey again, which is pretty decent damage. But it's definitely not enough damage to the point where it's actually going to be doing enough. So in this case, we do still have shields up, we still have immunity up, we still have things going, and that's where we go for a lot of debuffs right there. And from here, it's kind of like match is already done. And I would say by drafting this match, definitely did work out pretty well. So I think we can go and fast forward a little bit. So he tries to do Kraken skills, still things not working out. I still have my heals in, I have my revives in, my units are looking for HP. The Grey is actually a unit I definitely did underestimate. That unit has a lot of damage, and my Linglo actually started dying at some point. I'm like, that's kind of scary. Good thing I still had a Sanya as well, and the moment that I kill his Grey, he has no more damage, so that's a 1-0 victory right there. Then the second match, he actually steals my Heinrich. I was like, oh, I am not liking that. So I was like, okay, then I gotta steal your unit. So you steal one of mine, I gotta steal one of yours. Also went in for the Sanya. I'm not entirely sure if he went back to the Lily. I don't have a Lily to steal, otherwise would have probably stolen the Lily. But that does mean that he has a pretty strong units. He also went for the Oboe. Oboe's currently also in the protected slot. That is with the tournaments. You have this mode where the slot 3 is protected and you can't actually steal it. But Oboe doesn't have the best of activation rates on it. Once again, he goes with a full team without any healers. So in this case, I do remove his best stripper out there, which is still that Heinrich. So he can go for the strip on the Oboe, but it's not as strong. But this definitely did feel a little bit more dangerous for the draft itself. So let's see how that revolved around in the first few turns, because those are mostly the most interesting turns. I keep it at like times 1.5 speed, because especially with RTA, people do tend to take their time. But actually, we missed 2 strips. You only got the strip on the Linglo, and you got the strip on the Hellkit. So those are also the characters that can survive a little bit more. So the Grey, ooh, that was some good damage right there. Does he actually kill it? He does manage to kill the Hellkit, which is always not great, not great. That is definitely a thing. But then again, I still have the Linglo for damage, and I do have the Messiah for damage. And the Messiah for damage itself, I did go for the Shell, which is the Count, which gives the extra healing. But that was one of those shells. Like, look at this. Okay, it's kind of messing up. But look at the HP I gain. I gain near to no HP. So that's definitely one of those shells I tried out in the beta. And I'm like, yo, I'm not going to be using that again. Because if you had the Fang shell, you would have had like the extra attack and you would have probably killed something over there. Which was like, okay, I should have probably went for that. In the end, Raoult did manage to clean up at least one target. He still doesn't have any healing where I do have healing. Did manage to get a stun off. And therefore, with the invisibility that's sitting over here, it is still a relatively easy cleanup from there. So it was in the end, if I did a little bit less damage, it would have definitely been an issue. But in the end, we did manage to do enough damage. If I kill the Grey, he doesn't have any things going on for him. And therefore, that is pretty much the 2-0. So we can speed this up, but from this point on, there's pretty much no way of winning. Sure, maybe you could try to permanently stun with an Oboe and get a lot of dots in, but Linglo is still on the field, and that's also what we saw. Like, a lot of support meta is still definitely really strong. Like, sure, it's good to go first turn and try to cleave someone down, but support meta is really strong. So then my second match was against Shiny, which was also a rank 3 player at this moment. He was rank 1 in normal arena in the Europe server. So definitely a very good player. Took the Sanya right away. I went for a ban on his Born, so that's one of the stronger units he has. Interesting thing is that he actually added in a few extra healers. He actually went more on SR units. The Viper of him was very strong, but also the Shiaki that he had was for healing as well. So first draft around, my Heinrich was banned, which definitely did not really help me that much, because in the end, the smaller your pool is and the more likely a unit of yours is banned, which is not on his side, it makes it just harder to draft. He did have the Lily, but in this case, Viper was in the protected slot, so I couldn't go for the ban in that. And in this case, it was already like, okay, this is where I had to go for one of my 4 units that's really poorly geared, because all of the other units are kind of out of the field. So in this case, I was like, okay, I probably have to go for the healing and just pray for the best that the Messiah doesn't do too much damage. Messiah doesn't have an attack buff over here, so that helps out a little bit. The Viper can definitely be annoying, especially in combination with that Lilith. Also, he does have that Lilith on Gigabyte, so it's going to be stealing turns for a little bit. So definitely 2 very dangerous things out there. So in this case, he does move first, which is nice and awkward. Also, interestingly enough, both sides have full immunity. So both sides are full on will in this case, which is, or not on will. I keep calling it will. I'm used for Sky Arena to call it will, but full on Bulwark, that thing. So let's see how much damage he can do. Also, I don't have any healers for the Tiamat right now, which is also definitely a strategy. If you struggle with Tiamat, try to ban or steal the healers from the enemy side, because Tiamat without any healers is mostly very difficult to get in the dragon form. Because in this case, sure, you get a few stacks from doing your skills, but you're not getting an insane amount of stacks yourself, unless you're actually max skilled. If you're max skilled, it's a little bit easier, but we didn't really have max skilled characters as of just yet. And we have the Viper coming in with a attack break and also slows, which is definitely very dangerous altogether all the time. Good thing I had the Codex of Magic, which gave me another round of immunity right there, which is a good amount of protection. Going in for the shields, not too much shields, but we have a very good Kraken hit, freezing everything right there. Plus, we still have Raoult damage, which also has defense buff right now, which just simply starts adding more and more damage. Plus, the defense buff is actually giving a massive shield towards the lowest target because of the shell that Raoult is having over here. So those are all kind of things that do definitely add up that made me kill this Viper. I thought the Viper was the most dangerous target. If I kill the Viper, I'm kind of good. I'm not going to get stripped as much. The Messiah is still dangerous, but I can kind of work my way around the Messiah. Lilith could be dangerous as well, but also I felt like it was more dealing with than I could deal with a Viper. If the Viper starts countering, getting annoying in there, it's just very, very hard to deal with. So Shiny definitely did take his time for getting the skills in. For me, it's just like spam, 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 go, 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 go. So that's definitely a different in playstyle right there. But you do have 30 seconds, and you should be making use of like those 30 seconds. Read the buffs, read the attack bar timer, and or like how far they are from attack bar and those kind of things. For me, I was like, nope, let's go on. Let's just do our thing and let's just see how it works. But from here, it's pretty much a called game because there's no way you're going to be surviving this the moment that Tiamat is in the farm. Rahul is stacking more and more on the ref, or at least has a chance to stack. Currently doesn't have any. But there's a lot of options for me to deal more damage, and that's where it's going to be end of the game. So this is where he had first pick, and I actually banned Tiamat myself, and that was a big mistake. I should have not done that. I should have went for a ban on a unit that he has and I don't have. So that could be the Viper, that could be the Born, that could be a lot of things. But I should not have been banning something that he did not pick at first in the last round. I was scared of playing against Tiamat, but the main thing is you don't have to be that scared playing against Tiamat, because the moment that your enemy goes Tiamat, you go Sanya and you go Ling Lo, and that's mostly the best counter in there. But from here, the whole draft became super awkward already, because I only have one healer right now, which is the Ling Lo. He has two healers already, plus he has a chance to ban my healer. So from this side, my draft was already like super wonky. Plus the other unit that was going to be picking in the final was going to be that Freya, which was like, okay, he also did have that one. So I absolutely had nothing. I was like, okay, I kind of have to pray for Kraken to do some miracle work, maybe my damage dealers to go through and make it work from there, because this is definitely a wonky draft where he does have a healer. Ling Lo was obviously the ban on his side towards me. So in this case, let's see, Born does have the count as well, or does he have the lower version of count? I think he has the lower version of count, but that is an insane amount of damage. Without an attack buff, doing that much damage is absolutely insane. His Born was really strong. It's one of those units that definitely have to be careful for as well. My Messiah did an okay amount of damage, but was right away healed by that Shiaki. And then he landed pretty much all freezes. I went for the skill 2 or skill 3. And I actually was like, wait, why are none of my freezes connected? But the big issue is that it purifies because of the skill that the Freya put earlier. So I did get resisted on one, but it did actually purify on all 3 of those. And that was because the Freya skill 2 does actually go for some purifying on the Dreamweave or whatever that skill is. So that was one of those, I'm like, yeah, I'm getting messed up. And that's definitely a mess up in the draft and not really noticing what Freya does at that moment, of just doing the right thing right there. And from there, it was just pretty much like a called game. He had healing, I didn't have any healing. And from there, it's just super hard to come back. And that's also where I just conceded, because from this point on, I knew that he was going to do more damage. I didn't have any sustain, I didn't have any cooldowns. And that's why I just now was like, might as well give up. So in this case, I went for the pre-ban of the Sanya, which is once again, it's once again kind of the issue where I'm pre-banning something I have myself as well, which I shouldn't be doing. Like, if you have a roster of like 9 characters, and out of those 9, you don't even want to draft the last 4 pretty much. If you're banning something on the enemy side that you also do own, it gets really awkward. Plus, he has a chance to steal the other healer I have. And then once again, I end up with a Tiamat without any healers, which is really bad as well. So he has double healer. He has like pretty much protect the Viper comp right now, which my only chance is to try to maybe snipe and kill it. He did ban out the Rahul, and then make my way work from there. So we do get immunity in over here. He gets his skill off, but once again, he goes for skill 2 rather than he goes for skill 1. So there's nothing going on just yet. Also, his units, actually, my Kraken was pretty slow on purpose to outslow the enemy in case they did have immunity. But in his case, he was even slower than I was. And I think my Kraken was legit plus 40 speed, which was definitely an issue. Because if my Kraken was moving after, it would have been a lot better. Also in here, I go for the taunt, and I land the taunt on just the unit that is also already frozen. If I landed the taunt over here, which is the wrong element, but if I landed the taunt over here or over there, it would have been a lot better for me. Let's see what he goes in for the skill 3. He connects the skill 3 and he lands on nearly everyone once again, which is definitely bad for me right there. Plus, he has the Freya moving in right now again, and he goes for that skill 2. So he once again has that Dreamweave, whereas he's going to be able to purify things. In this case, I should have actually done the skill 2 rather than the skill 3 to remove some of the Dreamweave, because then I had a more chance to go in for the Kraken skill 3, because now the Kraken skill 3 is going to have the same issue, but that's one of those things that I did not really notice until I started watching the match after. So did get multiple skills off once again, did get good damage in, but this is where we go for the Kraken hit once again, and with the Kraken hit, we once again are looking at, well, double resist over there, purify, purify, purified, 0 out of 4 land again. I was annoyed. So yeah, this is the point where it's like also my attack broken Messiah was probably not going to be doing enough damage. If I had enough damage to one-shot this in any kind of shape or way, it would have been nice, but my Messiah was not really that crazy, because in the end, I put my Messiah on Bulwark as well. The moment you start putting things on Bulwark, you just start lacking a lot of damage on those characters, or at least it's a lot harder to get the proper damage in. But from here, the match is kind of over the moment that I don't get my, my Tiamat into the right state. So in this case, I still want to be saving my skill 3 for the moment that I do not have the attack break, because attack break is just lowering the damage. And that was my one way to maybe get a full-on snipe in. So let's see if we can get a stun. Wait, did he still have a Dreamweave stack over there? It might have been, but the stun right here is going to be a 50-50, I think. Yeah, it should have been like a 50-50, but in the end, did not connect it. Also, we don't have the stacks on the Tiamat dice, and then match is over. So I did lose that one right there. So we are currently sitting at 1 victory, 1 loss. Next match is going to be against Oinks. I did notice when checking the records just earlier, I only recorded the first match, but not the second match. So we shall see how that goes. So once again, he's stealing a few units I have. I does have my Hell Kit. He does have the Messiah. So trying to have to figure out where are the units that I can go for. He does also have a Doki Doki. In this case, I did notice that the Messiah was probably the most damage dealer. You do have Real Mocha in here. Real Mocha is also pretty good damage dealer throughout. And actually, he started outspeeding him. And this is one of those tactics where you're like, wait, this is... How do I even outspeed a Doki Doki and a Hellkit? Those are normally kind of fast. But in this case, I definitely do think there was a little bit of different preparation throughout. Because I did not expect to start outspeeding those kind of characters. But in the end... I did outspeed, but I also did do more than enough damage where it was relatively an easy fight on this one. Second fight, as mentioned, wasn't recorded, but it kind of went similar style. Like I just did, I think my gear in general was just a little bit better of preparation that I could do in the first few days of this tournament. Also, maybe I started stealing some of his units later on. I think I also stole his, he did have a Heinrich as well, which he tried to steal in the second round. Also didn't work out for him. But that was the main thing. I was just stealing his units, and the moment, like, sometimes the draft looks really bad, but it's just based on, like, yo, you stole my units, and I can't draft anything proper right now. So that is the thing right here. But we did win this match, so we have 2 victories after this one, because this is pretty much over. Next one is not recorded, as mentioned. But we go into the 4th round. So into the next match against Cororak. Both of us actually banned the same R unit. That's why you only see 3 bans. I went for a ban on the Rosa, he went for a ban on the Tiamat. I didn't know what he was playing at all. I could have like guessed on like a Lily kind of ban or something like that. But like most of the times you don't really want to be banning the units you have your own. But he banned out the Tiamat, which is definitely one of my core units, so I did remove that right there. He did go for the Linglo as counterpick to the healing of the Sanya. I would say the main core healers that you do see is Sanya and Linglo. Besides that, you have to go more towards SR units if you want to go healing. Mia is definitely an option, but not everyone had that one, and I had one, but I didn't build it. I think I should have definitely, like in hindsight, I should have actually built the Mia instead of some of the characters over here. I was hoping to still do a reset, but I was a little bit too late, otherwise I would have probably reset like either Dion or something like that. So he does go for a more speedy team. His healer is locked in the position over there, but this is the kind of team that I mostly like to play more into, because... from here on out, sure, I still don't really like to pick any of those 3 units. If I had the Mia over here right now, it would have been better. I did have the Marvel, but if I went Marvel right now, I would have to ban the Lily. I think I actually went for that. Yeah, I went for the ban on the Lily. My Marvel was pretty slow. It was just about 130 extra speed, which is definitely not that much. But he's not showing any speed on his whole team if the Lily ain't there. And he actually left the Marvel in. He did ban out my Heinrich, which was pretty much my main damage dealer out there. So from here, I was like, okay, as long as I just push back, He doesn't have too much immunity. He did actually have immunity on the Ling Lo, which is a really good character to have that immunity on. But I was able to start with a bit of pushback and then trying to take over the match. The issue, however, is I don't really have too much damage. He only has one healer. It is a pretty decent healer, but I was just trying to have supports push back the damage dealers, the Messiah pushing back. Pretty much everything, just trying to just push back things to try to do some damage. Normally, I would start stripping things with Heinrich and stuff, but I'm just trying to get pushbacks in. I'm just trying to get anything anti in. That did a lot and a lot of damage right there. Was that an attack broken one? Wait, I would have to double check. Where did that damage come from? No, he was not attack broken. And is that is a life leech as well. Is he on the count? No, I think it's on the lower version of the count. But this thing did so much damage. Legit, like, one-shot my whole team. That was just an insane amount of damage. And from here, winning, it gets pretty difficult. I think I did lose this one. I still tried to go for a revive. But the moment this Messiah moves, also nearly kills the thing. This one moves. Yep, we lose that one as well. That's where you can definitely see that the win rate I was getting on ladder worked very different than in the tournaments. Because you have the pre-ban. But also on ladder, a lot of people were picking Marvels, Krakens, and all of those kind of things into me. And against the Marvels, Kraken, Lilies, plus 2 damage dealers, I was playing insanely well. But against anything like Heavy Bruiser, I was having a lot of trouble. So that was definitely a thing that I did notice, like, okay, I have to be going something slightly different. In this case, he actually went for the same thing that I had last time around, where he doesn't have that much damage. Well, we did see the Leon have a lot of damage. But in this case, wait, what did he ban out on my side? He went for the ban on the Rahu. So he actually banned the Rahu and kept the Heinrich in. I way rather play with a Heinrich, especially if Leon is the damage dealer on their side, than with a Rahu. That's absolutely 100% a thing. I did still go for the skill 3, and that's where we go for a little bit of that. We couldn't really get the proper skills. Oh, wait, there we got the proper skills in. So you can go for a little bit of healing, a little bit of cleansing, but there's not too much going on right now, and I can get pushbacks in with the Marvel. I can get extra skills in for, like, any kinds of shape or way to make sure, like, he has protect the Leon comp. I have, like, kill the Leon comp as bad as possible. Also, in this case, did try to do damage again. This time around, not as much damage as the previous time. Because there were no real buffs on it. It was buff blocked, it was attack broken, and the attack break from the Hellkit is really strong. Hellkit did take a little bit of a nerf. Not as strong as Veronica. Veronica was my MVP in the previous tournaments that I played. But Veronica took a pretty hefty nerf. This one, not as much, but this was actually a pretty dual match this way. Because the moment I kill the damage dealer, it's pretty much over. You can go back and forth on reviving, but it's going to be pretty difficult. So we're looking at a 1-1. So the next match, once again, we have a Lily ban, we have a Tiamat ban. I'm stealing his row again, but he actually stole my Heinrich. I did not know that he have Heinrich as well. It's not fully built on his side, but I had to, I was like, oh, it's stolen. That's not great. So in this case, I did know that he didn't have that much immunity. Also, once again, removed his healer. He did have the Heinrich on immunity, though, which was a little bit annoying. So I couldn't go for skill 3 over there, but I could go for a Kraken skill. I had my Marvel skill going in, and from there, it was just pretty much cleanup potential for just cycling through my turns with the Marvel, cycling through my turns with the Kraken. And from there, it was very doable of a match. So that's also definitely where you can see, like, the power that I had on immunity, which was super strong on leaderboards. The moment that you fight against people that are top 20, that is where you really see the difference, where people start bruisering more rather than start, like, just spamming the speed game. Because the speed game in, like, the real high ranks is not as crazy as you were seeing, like, maybe in some of the lower ranks, or, like, even, like, top 100, like, starting top 100 and kind of stuff. So this is where his units just don't look that great. We get the skill back on the Kraken. Kraken also had the shell of Halloween, and Halloween gives a cooldown reduction at a random time. So that is definitely one of those shells that does work out very well for Kraken. Also, Codex of Magic is super strong on the Kraken. But in this case, didn't have that, but we ended up with a 2-against-1. So that's how it ended. I ended rank 4, and the top 4 actually goes through the next day. So we did play against Shiny. We played against, watch him, that was the Korean guy in the first match. We played against Cororak, and we had a match against Oinks. Sean B got number 11 in this one over here. And I was number 4, but there was an issue. I had more points over here. You can't really see that. I had more points over here, but less points over there. So I had to play a tie-breaking match against Sandal. Because only, once again, the top 4 makes it through. But since we're on the exact same points, we had to play a tiebreaker match. So also, once again, not really sure what he was using, so I just went for a ban on the Lily, just hoping that was going like that. In this case, I actually had quite a comfortable draft of units I normally pick. I normally would like to go Rahul in here, but Rahul is a little bit dangerous against the Messiah for damage. And I did notice that he's not showing any of that much speed going in. So in this case, my Marvel is actually not on a bulwark sit. So I was like, okay, I have to protect the Marvel and ban out the Kraken, which was actually a pretty big mistake. Plus, there was one really big issue. Look at the speeds that he's having. His Grey and his Freya are simply outspeeding. Oh, my logo's kind of in front of it. But his Grey is his fastest unit, and they do an insane amount of damage. He pretty much nearly one-shot this. Plus, he had one attack coming after, and that did actually make the kill right there. And that was like pretty much from there. Good game. That thing also shit ton of damage. So he simply just did way too much damage where I couldn't cut in with anything on my turn. And yeah, if you just simply do too much damage, I'm dead. That's also one of the ways to counter full bulwark. So then we had to go against the next match. Once again, I banned the Lily. Maybe I should have went for a ban on the Grey. It was definitely a dangerous unit on his side. In this case, I went for the Freya ban or the Grey ban. I think I went for the Freya ban because then I expected less damage on the Grey, but I was a little bit back and forth, wasn't really sure. The Doki Doki was a 4-star, so I expected that to be a little bit weak. But in this case, we still have the Grey moving all the way first. So his units were just crazy fast with that. Good damage over there. And we had healing coming in, and then the Messiah moved, and it still took out one unit right away. I went for the skill 3, but I think the skill 3 legitimately did not connect that much. Yeah, we did get a few dispels, but not on the immunity over here. The invisibility was actually gone, but yeah, we still have immunity over here, and we still have this one over there. So that does not really help out. Also for the taunts, we could not taunt this. If we were able to taunt that because he did already use the skill 3, it would have been a lot better. But we couldn't get that in that case. Bit of damage coming in, but not that much damage. If we had the taunt over here, he couldn't have went for the hit on, or we still would have went for the hit over there, actually. And over here, I was just hoping a little bit more damage, but he already got his skill 3 back, and he went for another snipe on that shell that he was having, which was a lot better than the shell I was using on the Messiah. But that Grey just simply did so freaking much damage, and that was actually a really big issue right there. And that's also the thing where the Kraken pick just doesn't really fit at all over there. It would have been nice if I had the Linglo, because my Linglo is on Gigabyte, and it would have been able to cut in this position to go for healing. Or I should have bought the Mia to go for cutting on the healing on this position. So that is in the end, you only have a finite amount of units that you can play around with. And that is my defeat in the tiebreaker match. So that does mean that I don't go on to day 2. The other players that did make it to day 2 are, of course, then the first 3 players that you see over here, plus Sandal. In the end, if you do want to see the rest of the tournament, I think it's still on the VOD on the channel of Volking. I will link the channel of Volking, but also, of course, the channel of TimaeuSS in the bottom for the description as well. Because I want to highly shout out those guys for actually organizing this tournament and doing the casting and doing everything like that. And also, once again, Etheria Restart want to thank for sponsoring this tournament, because they had like a few coupons and that kind of stuff. And they also did go in with the prize pool that was mentioned at the start. So definitely pretty nice to see that all throughout. But that is it for the beta. I did try my best to get up a team that was also workable, but I definitely did notice that climbing all the way to around like top 25 was super easy. But after that, you definitely saw a lot more bruiser potential, and people had a lot better gear, and people were bruisering themselves rather than just spamming Marvels and Krakens. Because in the end, that is a meta that works for the first few days, but afterward, it's not going to do as great. So that's definitely an interesting take of that as well. We'll take that knowledge into the real release, and definitely let's see how the real release goes for me. If there's another TimaeuSS Cup, once again, and he will invite me, of course, I'm going to be there. Guys, I want to thank you all for watching on this one. There's going to be a few more videos towards the first few days. I think there's going to be another video tomorrow on Etheria Restart about my all opinion about the game itself and itself. Maybe a little bit about like preparation for the beta or for the real release as well. But then more towards the real release on the 5th of June, maybe like 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th of June. I'm going to be doing videos of like, okay, I'm going to be doing re-rolling for this unit and this way. I'm going to go for the selective banner on this unit. And I will take my time because also they're going to be doing a balance patch. Maybe they will add in a few units. They will make some changes to the game. So based on that, I can give better recommendations just a few days before the launch. But you can definitely find me streaming this game on the 5th of June. And I'm going to be streaming the reroll that I'm doing. And the stream link is down in the description below as well. Guys, thanks a lot for watching. Hope you definitely did enjoy the beta as much as I did, and hope to see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.